Hi, everyone. I'm Frank. Let me pull up the stars of the show. Judd, Lor Sedai, and Natty Bumpercar. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're here to talk about, in case you didn't see it in the description, Wheel of Time Episode 4, Amazon Prime's, I would say, bold attempt to make the next Game of Thrones. You're going to get a lot of this annoying, reductive stuff from me. I can only compare things to things I've seen in the past. So this is episode 4, full spoilers, of course. We are going now. I know beforehand that Judd has been very open on social media about how this is the episode that won him over.
Oh,
and you're all in now. Is that right, Judd?
I'm in. My chips. I'm pushing my chips across the table.
Okay.
It is. I have started rereading the books. Like I started at the scene in book 4 where I got angry and started rereading it. So that's
great.
3 million more words, and I'm right there.
No time. So, but the real mystery for me is what Natty and Lauren think about this episode. So, would either of you like to go first?
I want Lauren to go first.
Okay. I love that we never know which Brady Bunch way to point. Yeah.
So I rewatched it while making dinner tonight and finished it like as I was sitting down to eat. And I'm like, this is the best episode so far. I liked it.
I'm happy about it. I'm really happy because when the fans are like the fans of the books are into it, then I feel less dirty for enjoying it. All right, Natty, what about you? It stinks.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. How can you even say? No, it was great. I hate to be in agreement with everybody because that doesn't make for a good episode. But here I'll play devil's advocate. No, I really liked it. It was great. Sorry, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, so all I know, and I'll probably not speak as much, hopefully not speak as much, but that this was not this episode. Most of what happened in this episode did not actually occur in any of the books, or at least not the same way. Is that true?
I don't remember.
It definitely didn't happen at this point in the narrative, in the arc of the story. And a lot of it, I feel like in my mind, wasn't in the book at all. Like it was kind of a hodgepodge of stuff.
So the Tinker part did happen. I remember that. Yeah. That definitely, even though that was like the least action-packed part, I'm like, oh, okay, this definitely happened. The other parts, they seem like they fit. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's eternally the question in my head is like, am I watching something new to me or new to everyone? And something we stumbled upon last time was that, is this a different spin on the wheel? My fingers are crossed, is that even fans of the show are going to be completely surprised by anything that happens. I know that may not necessarily be great for everyone, but I think it would be kind of neat. All right. Who wants to walk me through the greatness of this episode and why it won you over? Who would like to go first?
I loved Logain. I don't remember him being so cool in the books, and I know he comes back, like he's relevant later.
Oh yeah,
in a big way. Yeah, and I was ready to swear. I was like, he was so cool. I don't remember him being that cool. Of just, he turned that king, and you understood. I think you kind of understood why. I thought that was really neat. Yeah, that was neat. I don't think we got to see that in the books that I remember, seeing him be so great so early.
Definitely not so early, yeah. But I think like it was another kind of home run for me as far as the actor and like how he played it. Like he had like a charisma to him and a gravitas that really I was just like, ooh, this guy. And also like I think in last time we were speaking, we were talking about how some of the weaves, Laura said, I believe you were saying that some of the weaves looked a little force pushish, but I thought that that Logain's with the dark stuff, and even how they depicted the madness with the kind of black thread creatures talking behind him was well done, because mental health can be very difficult to show on screen without it being too, I think, reductive and bad, and I thought that they did a good job with that as well.
Yeah, showing his side of magic wielding was so much cooler. It was just, it was sexy.
Whoa,
I'm gonna go with that. With the cage like disappearing. It was so different than what the women were doing, crossing their arms. I'm like, okay, one of you does it better than the other, even though they have done it a lot longer. It was just weird. The difference. They showed the difference.
Definitely. Sexy is a great term. I mean, for the charisma, the presence, like there is something, there was something a little dangerous, but also like compelling. Again, like Judd said, with the king being seduced over by this miraculous show of power. And I think in terms of the Vogue-like movements of everybody else doing their magic, I think everyone kind of elevated. This episode was definitely visual storytelling brought up a notch. From the castle scene in the opening, it looked like a grand set you would see in a major production, a major modern production that this is. The way magic interacted with one another, the way cast members were allowed to talk to each other as if they were human beings, sexy human beings hanging out in a campfire.
Yeah,
so good.
I thought an interesting thing for me too was that really grabbed me was this episode really felt like the stakes were high, and like there was tension. Whereas in the other episodes, I think when they were in Shadow Logoth, like that had some tension to it, but like this really, like there was a lot of stuff happening and like these explosions. And I read an article that a lot of the explosions were practical effects. So there were actually, and they said the actors, whoever was in the article, was like, yeah, at the end of the day, we're wiped out because like that stuff is real. There's really explosions happening. I was just like, good for you.
Yeah, I could definitely believe that. So Logain was an interesting character, and again, a lot of the set dressing was wonderful, and giving actors a chance to shine was great. What's another thing? I think I kind of leaned on it with the warders. How great was that entire sequence?
Queer polyamorous warders. Like I was so down with that. I was like, oh, that's great. It's fantastic. Like, yeah, I just loved it. I mean, I think he kind of, it was inferred in the books, but I don't feel like you got to see, a pair of bi warders, talk about their relationship and then kind of walk away to bone, with their warder in a three-way, like that. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. It was cool. Great. Queer this stuff up. Let's do it. Like it was fantastic. Definitely down with that. Anyway, it's all really quiet. It's just going to be me talking about
just more and more of that
hot queer warders, and I will go for the rest of the 50 minutes.
That's going to be the name of this podcast.
Like it.
Lauren, what were you about to say something?
Oh, I remember with all the warders, I'm like, didn't they have cloaks? They had cloaks in the book where they hid them. Mm-hmm. And so like if they stayed still, you couldn't see them. And I'm like, why didn't they have that? Oh wait, Lord of the Rings, like the elvish cloaks. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But that was such a huge part of the books.
Yeah, in Harry Potter, I was just like, where's the same thing? I was like, where's my cloak?
I know, because you knew that they were a warder if they had the cloak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh wait, there's so many warders. How do I know who's who?
That's an interesting choice that the show has to make throughout. Me being a relatively newbie to this, is that there's a lot of like, what do we have to explain with exposition, right? If someone says something in a magical language or a religion that isn't one that we understand, anything that is out of the ordinary has to be explained by somebody on screen to another person on screen. So you have to choose your battles, or else people are, watching the Similarian, which apparently they're aiming at one point to make, which, you don't want people to go through an entire encyclopedia. I think that might get into like magical powers. They are definitely aiming for something. They're aiming somewhere between the two biggest fantasy franchises of the last few decades: Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. And this episode was, I think, a little bit more Game of Thrones than Lord of the Rings, and I was there for it. But maybe we'll get those cloaks in the upcoming episode. Speaking of,
I think it's when they climb around the Misty Mountain and it's very bad storm outside and they have to go into a cave, and that's a different book.
That's a different Misty Mountain.
Yeah.
Beyond this scene, because this definitely is a major A plot. Do we want to talk about the Tinkers a little bit and their and what? Speaking of having exposition, their mythology, their religion. Anybody have something to share with that? I loved it. I bought into this pacifist conversation happening between this Tinker leader and Perrin, who is just like regretting every action he's taken in the last few weeks or however long it's been.
I think there's something that's happening with the performances where they get to move beyond Robert Jordan's writing and what Robert Jordan really thought. And so like Robert Jordan had The Way of the Leaf, but my vibe was that he didn't buy it and that he didn't think that people were idiots, but I felt like he wasn't buying it. And it didn't feel, but the performances that we're seeing, I feel like they're really selling it. Not that I think The Way of the Leaf is the way to go, but I just thought it was really interesting and really much more compelling than maybe in the book. I mean, just like Nynaeve is more compelling because suddenly we get this amazing, black actor rocking out with her depiction of a strong woman, and we don't have to just rely on Robert Jordan's, rewriting of Taming of the Shrew. Yeah. So, and Pulling the Braid. So I really like, I was not sold when I first saw them. I was like, they look like deadheads. They look like they're coming out of a Grateful Dead concert and they're going to like sell me acid. I'm not digging this, but I was sold. Like I thought the performances were really excellent, all up and down. So.
The thing with Perrin is this kind of avoidance to fighting and murder, whatever, and his thing with rage, that doesn't happen until I think much later in the books. And so I think it's probably because it does become such a touchstone of his character that having him kill his wife accidentally, which was a new thing, it really laid the groundwork immediately as to why he would be so kind of not wanting to get into violence. And so it's good that they're like, that's one of his main character traits, and he's with the Tinkers and he's having these conversations, and so it's really bolstering the whole his whole character, I think.
Yeah, I love that they're making shortcuts in this story. If you know where the narrative goes, please bring it to us cleaner than in sprawling fantasy epics. Lauren, you were interested in the Tinkers. So
it's something to remember for people who have read the books, and for people who haven't read the books. Jordan has a lot of yin and yang in his books. There's a male, female. There's a lot of light, dark, and then the Tinkers are on one side and there's another group on the other side. So they balance each other out. And so it's good to get this side and see all sides of The Way of the Leaf and life. And that's all I'm going to say for that. But it
definitely
is
avoiding spoilers.
Yeah, you can really hear it in her voice. Yes.
Yeah.
A series of winks. I'm going to tell you if you've read the book, you know what's coming. No, and that yin and yang symbol, or the
it's
duality,
very important.
The
the
binary.
That's
I remember when I first was told about these books. I think the person who told me about it, there was an actual yin and yang symbol in something I was doing in some game I was running, and like, oh, that's from Wheel of Time. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's from other things. It's interesting. Like if your roots are in a piece of fiction, you don't necessarily know that it has deeper.
So
deeper
I saw that in the first, I forget which episode. They did a kind of Game of Thronesy kind of thing where they made a symbol of the Satan or the dark power, the tear in like the blood.
Oh yes.
And I noticed that. I'm like, oh, and the goats, like there were some dead goats or dead animals. They were in the pattern.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, that's some Game of Thrones stuff. I don't know about
that's
that.
Interesting.
I saw the goats,
Game of Thronesy,
and my brain was like, it recognized that I should be seeing something, but my brain was just like, I'm pretty sure that's something, and I'm too tired. I can't even. That's
I know it was goats.
Yeah, I know I'm missing something here.
Yeah. But yeah, that was. I think it happened twice.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay,
that's neat. Very neat.
But it was kind of corny, but I was like, oh, people take note.
I enjoy the visual storytelling that's been happening, and this episode has a lot harder than the previous ones. At least it's a lot more graceful. So yeah, I found the Tinkers super compelling. There was another. Oh, it's Matt and Rand,
Yeah.
and Gleeman. Another really great little adventure, concise adventure. Natty, I don't think I asked you to take lead on any bit of this, so why don't you take us through that?
I enjoyed it very much. It again kind of pushed forward that Rand is a stick in the mud, and they're kind of like, hey, we'll just go sleep in the barn. Who's going to notice? And, I think we should talk to him, whatever. And then the whole I did like I don't remember if it was Rand or Matt. I think it might have been Rand who said to the farmer, if you were going to kill us, you would have you would have held the string with your fingers.
Rand.
And not and I was like, ooh, that's good. Because like my kid's name is Oliver, and it's because I was in the play Oliver, but also because I like Oliver Queen. Of course, it's the Green Arrow. And I'm watching the what is it, Barton, the
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye. Yeah, and so like I like bows and arrows stuff. And so like when he said that, I was just like, that's a great tiny little touch, and that Rand noticed it made me happy.
Makes the character seem more real and lived in. They know the world they're in. They are actual archers,
Yeah, to be able to call it out. And I don't think it's any kind of spoilery thing, but what is it, Manetheren, the old blood, so where they're from, the Two Rivers, one of the things that they're known for is their archery skills. So like it's another little thing that they're kind of like
tipping their hat,
putting down little breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Cool. But I'm going to stop it there and let someone else, because there's a lot of other stuff to unpack here, and I don't want to eat it all up.
Yeah.
Tiny moment that I loved in that is the husband is out, and then, he kind of isn't sure anymore, and he kind of turns to his wife and says, "What do you think?" You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of a nice little moment to be like, "Oh yeah, this is like a relationship of equals and a family," and she was out there with her bow, and the kid was out there with their bow, and I loved it. I like that. I don't know. You just got a feeling of a real family there for a moment, and I dug it, which makes, of course, the spoilerific ending all the more tragic. But it was a nice bit of world building that I appreciated.
The tone of, I think, this series seems to be, it's a mystery. Who is the Dragon Reborn? And they're keeping it up through each one of these little stories. I think Perrin is a little confusing, and Egwene maybe, because the Tinkers seem to be selling them on the let's just don't do anything, no violence, wave the leaf, don't destroy the world. Maybe that's not quite a misdirect, but it's one thing. Clearly, there's something going on in that A story that we haven't quite finished up yet. But with Rand and Matt seems like, and we're led to believe that he may in fact be the Dragon Reborn, or at least he is a male channeler who's tapping into this darkness, the same inky blackness that comes around with Logain. All the visual storytelling is there, and you can't even tell whether or not Matt is the person who butchers the family, or if it's that is it a shade?
Yeah,
that has that
or
he
draw.
sees
Fade.
Fade. Yes,
that editing was done very well.
That was perfect.
Like how you come in, and I feel like if my mind, and Laura, you just saw it, so in my mind at least, the camera comes in on the knife.
Yes.
Does it have blood dripping off of it?
I don't think so.
But
I don't believe so.
But it like swoops in on knife.
The knife.
And then maybe you see blood on there was something that visually tied knife to blood. And so you're just like,
well, the ruby is red.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm not sure if it
yeah,
it sparkles.
Light, yeah.
But it really made you think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's a good scene. Very good scene.
The fight with the Fade was really great too, because it showed Tom Maryland's, like, one of the things that he's known for is this knife throwing. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Fade was coming at him as he tells Matt and Rand to leave, and he like does this big, like, his leg comes up to kick the Fade, and it's not like a solid thing that he kicks. Like it does this flow back in the air, like this weightless flow back, and I was just like, ugh. Like it gave me the heebies.
That's neat. Lauren, you have anything to add to this one, to the Matt scene?
It was awesome.
It was a great, it was a cool fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Judd, how about you?
Yeah, no, I also liked that we got to hear Tom talk about his nephew and who got gentled, and it puts all this big stuff into, again, just context, and these Aes Sedai like go out in the world and do stuff, and it affects normal people.
Yeah,
and you know, they're not they have their own stuff going on, and they're not necessarily to be trusted, and you know, his nephew killed himself because getting gentled is rough, and it was, you definitely got that feeling in the book, but it's cool how they have to. It's interesting to see how they have to illustrate that here, and I liked it. Sold.
That's I can't believe it slipped my mind, because the first episode of that 3-episode pilot really begins with a gentling of somebody, and I remember being very underwhelmed. I'm like, what is, like, and this is not a thing that I could not tell you what was happening in this thing. They were forcing ooze out of his body or something. I don't know. But again, visual storytelling and giving us something to care about, because Tom tells us the story, and then later in that episode we see a gentling, and then suddenly I feel bad for the person who was gentled, because it's like, I know that there is the emotional weight of this is devastating to them, but it's a great way to tell something without having an NPC sitting there telling you, this is what happens when you get gentled. You know, that's not going to be compelling. No one's going to remember that or care. So it's an interesting way of doing it. And this is great. So I hope everyone had a chance to talk about all the parts that they wanted to, except for that A story. Is there something that we're missing before we get into the gentling and that big explosive scene? Anybody have a moment they want to call out to? I can't think of anything in particular. I do remember thinking a lot of. Oh yeah, I do have a question for the three of you. The color-coded robe thing, the
Ajas.
What? So
I love them.
Okay,
so awesome. It makes it so easy.
Can you run them through for me? The ones that maybe were said.
I think so there's red.
Yeah,
and they kind of handle the menfolk who channel. There is blue, who kind of get into government business, spying and, handling, running all the world. There is Green, who are the battle Aja. So they help out, anywhere they need in terms of, fighting and stuff like that. And then there are others that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to go over them or not.
I'll be surprised, although my mind, like I'm remembering, I don't know why I say my mind as if it was a separate entity, but I think you said you were brown, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I can't wait to find out what
there's
a couple.
There's definitely going to be a meme or something where someone's like, yeah, I watched this with my grandma and she can't remember the names of the Ajas. So it's like angry feminist Aja, hussy Aja, and Moraine's Aja. Like, it's just gonna like there's going to be some kind of meme where they
tag yourselves.
They narrow it down into a
totally putting people in certain groups based on their personalities and likes and dislikes. But
although the way it's
it worked.
Yeah, it's spelt out pretty well in this, where there's like, what school did you decide to go to? And I felt more like doing this. That's
my issue was the fact that they're all wearing pants. Just because when I read it, I'm like, everyone's in robes and dresses because it's women, and I'm like, oh, they can wear pants. That makes so much more sense on the road.
That's probably what they
wearing
thought.
Pants, yeah. And it was such a big deal in the first episode when Moraine was getting ready and she was putting on pants. I'm like, oh my goodness, she can wear pants.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is groundbreaking.
The little things you don't notice.
Yeah, because I just assumed that they're all wearing these billowing robes with all these little pockets and nooks and crannies, and I'm sure that was spelled out in several pages. But yeah.
Pants. We got a little bit of a vibe of the politics between the Ajas and like how they get things done and the power between them, and I dig that too, because that's a huge part of Aes Sedai, and seeing how their politics play out is super cool. It's like, if I had to name 5 moments in the books that I remember vividly, one of them is a really big political moment among the Aes Sedai.
Yes.
And yeah, that's good stuff.
And,
I'm excited.
And something to think about is that there were so many reds there, but only one red that was containing the supposed Dragon Reborn. When that was there, that's their whole job, is to contain.
Yeah.
But the others.
Well, Lord Sedai, can I ask you a question, Lola? So when they were standing there, like just watching Logain, why didn't they just tie off the weaves? Because I know that's a thing. It's a weave, right? Like
it's not as powerful.
Not as powerful. Okay, good to know. Yeah.
Because if you notice, like they were really trying to concentrate because he was kind of fighting against their weaves.
Yeah.
If they had tied it off, he could have just untied it.
Got it. Good to know. Cool.
What did she say? She was like, and not even a bead of sweat off of him or something like that. She was furious. I think not even just all the politics of them, but you also got to see all the machinations as far as when Nynaeve was up with Lan, and who's the red who came up there?
Leandrin.
Leandrin, and she's poking and prodding around, but Nynaeve was she knew kind of what was up and wasn't gonna take her guff. But then when Nynaeve went down to the campfire, then the waters were kind of I'm just gonna throw around this little question here. It doesn't pertain to anything, but everyone's, and so this is in a way kind of a little Games of Thrones-ish, where there's a game of sorts being played here, and it's for information, which leads to power, which leads to the politics, I guess.
Yeah, the White Tower is very Game of Thrones-ish. It's all about what you say, and there's the 3 O's, so they can't lie. They can't, they have certain rules that they have to consider, so they have to watch what they say very carefully,
or how they say it.
Yeah, how they say it. Yeah, it's very clever.
I like how it ratchets up the game-ness of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, right.
I can't wait till we get to that.
There's So as a parent, my the oaths that I have to take, and the adhering to truth. So my child is 12 and he's very much upset because people are saying that Santa Claus isn't real. And if he goes back through the transcript of our life, I don't say he's real. I say, listen, people are allowed to believe what they want to believe. I believe that it's important to have magic in the world. And sometimes when people grow older, they're less inclined to want to believe or to let that magic into their lives. Did I answer?
Not lying.
No, yeah. But did I lie?
No.
Not
lying. So interesting.
Yes.
So what are you saying about Santa Claus, Natty?
That he's real.
Oh, okay, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I mean, sometimes you have to teach your child that lying is magic, and it's a powerful magic that is important. Like,
wait a minute.
Really...
I do like just to take it down the way naive. Yes, where the way she, again, this is all about how the actors are allowed to inhabit the roles. She's definitely a mixture of overwhelmed by the world she finds herself in, but capable of fending for herself. So she smiles through the niceties. She knows she's in the system now. And even though she's had, we presume have no history of this being in this kind of world, she's playing the part. She is gonna move through. Like there's a strength there in her survival in this really ridiculous situation where there's a camp of people who want her to do one thing and another camp of people want her to do the other thing. They both have great power over her, and all she has is the fact that they are pitted against each other to keep herself afloat. And I love all of that is in the way she reacts to being in this situation. It's all in her face, in her exasperation, and in her one drive to find those kids. It's really amazing. It really was a great episode and great acting all around.
So the one thing that is said about Two Rivers folk is that they are stubborn. Yeah. And they're stubborn and they're stubborn. And it's said over and over again. And she epitomizes that.
Yeah.
She is stubborn and tries to fit in.
Do you remember, did Nynaeve had a name for, I think it was either her or Egwene for Rand, which you'd say something, you stubborn, wool-headed. I forget idiot. What. Something, yeah. But it was like stubborn,
something wool-headed. Yeah.
That comes around a lot.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember which one says it.
So I think that it's time to talk about the big action sequence that wraps this episode up, which is the dragon reborn. We presume Logain, right? It's Logain who's the character in this one. Logain almost escapes from his captors. An incredible sequence and perfect example of the visual storytelling that I've been talking about this entire episode. The episode starts off with his amazing abilities. He conquers a kingdom. He even convinces that kingdom to be on his side at the end. So he defeats them utterly and then recruits them. Then he keeps all these powerful magic users at bay without a bead of sweat. Right? All this happens, all this kind of builds up the magic of this person, the power of this being that we presume is the Dragon Reborn. And it's not in like a Dragon Ball Z way where like his powers are out off the chart. Like no one talks about his power levels or anything like that. It's just we see subtly how difficult it is for him to be contained. And there's that wonderful line where he is sort of put in his place, like you're just going insane and your power is a pinprick to the dawning of the true dragon. And we actually get to see potentially what that dawn, in his own words, the dawn is like, what the power is. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Judd, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of questions it raises too. I don't know how much I can say without men can't see the weaves that women do. So
and vice versa.
they might be, they might be changing that, and it's just that men can see it. So they might be changing the world, or Nynaeve might be the dragon, or something. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but it was really an interesting choice, because the very first thing I said as someone who's read the books is, wait, how can he see what she's doing at all? Like, men aren't supposed to be able to see it, right? Or Laura Sedai?
I assume, well, no, he can't see because they can't see what he does.
Right.
I assumed there's literally people bleeding on the floor and then they're not. So
that could be. I thought it was the light. I thought he was like seeing that light.
Yeah, the way that they made it sound like it seemed like he could see that, but
that's interesting. I didn't even pick up on this. Because I didn't know that was a rule. I'm not sure if they brought it. They did bring it up.
They did say that.
They did bring it up.
Yeah, but to me, like, I guess there's always a filter, right? That's why it's danger for exposition to explain the world is always dangerous, because I filtered it out like, oh, they don't know the actual spell he's casting, but they can see that something's happening.
She could have produced that light, and he would see the result of that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He doesn't see the weave.
Okay. That's why you have a brown Aja on the podcast, so that someone.
Yeah,
Lauren said with words that what my brain was thinking.
It makes sense. I can make it make sense.
You made it make sense, because I was like, yeah, he doesn't know the magic, but he saw the
saw the light.
Yeah, he saw it, he literally and figuratively.
And visually, I feel like I'm getting more of an idea of how the weaving works, and it's looking a little cooler because it's having a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's having a little bit more of a less like a forced push and more like something on its own.
The connecting was more Captain Planet-y than I thought, but it worked. I'm sure they'll work on it.
The netting around him I thought looked really cool. And I think, Frank, when you were talking about like his power levels, I think his midichlorians are off the charts.
Charts.
It's way but when the I think it was the green Aes Sedai died and her water came in. And it reminded me very much. I mean, so speaking of jumping around, it reminded me very much of Star-Lord with Thanos, where you're like, they've got this fight won. You're good. Wait, why is he running in? Oh no, he's now okay. Well, now this bad thing has happened. You've exploded your weapon.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't like it. I liked it because it humanizes their relationships in a way. And they actually also, because they humanized the relationship before, right? We saw them in a very domestic situation. This is sort of like Perrin and unfortunately, I'm going to say Perrin and his wife, because I don't remember the name of the character, but they did enough to set up where like, oh, these people love each other, care for each other, that when one of them dies, I'm not just thinking, well, why are you doing this ridiculous thing? It flows. Again, these feel lived in. These characters after 4 episodes do feel real. They really inhabiting the role. So I did enjoy it as much as I was like, no, don't do that. I said no at the screen the way I was supposed to.
So water bonds are very deep, and warders whose Aes Sedai do die, like they will most likely die in the effort of trying to save or avenge their Aes Sedai. So I looked that up because I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he died immediately, but it's not. They kind of had the same reaction that men who are removed from the power have. Their just will to live is gone. Ooh. So that I'm glad that they showed that, because I was looking at it not remembering the book well, and then I read a little bit and it's like, okay, they will do whatever to avenge their Aes Sedai. That's what he did.
That's so much creepier. So I was like, oh, it's love and he did it, or like love. It's even an incredible bond of friendship or loyalty or, what have you.
It is kind of involuntary.
That's awful. Yeah. That's great. I can't wait. I hope they play with that a little bit more. Oh man, because
I'm sure they will.
He had no
if it keeps going.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Interesting. So I think, like all of you, I love this episode. I thought this really did make it feel more like a show I want to be invested in every week moving forward.
And isn't that bananas? Like just last week we had watched three episodes, so almost 3 hours or whatever it breaks down to, and it was just like, yeah, I mean it's neat. I'll stick with it. I don't know. And like looking back, like the first episode especially, even though it had that super cool Trolloc fight and all this stuff, it was just like almost like a pilot of a show where, like, the pilot of Friends or something, where Joey just walks in and goes, "How you doing?" And that's all and you're like, who cares how you doing? Yeah. Like it was just like these shells of characters, and now in 4 episodes they've managed to give them history, depth. They're like the relationship of Matt and Rand with mucking the stables shows that there's something there. Egwene and Perrin have known each other for a long time. Like you can
yeah.
So they've done a really good job in 4 episodes, I feel.
So knowing the story, like, how did you feel when you saw Lan's throat slash? Because I screamed a little bit, but I know the character. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't. So how did you take it? Because I might be a little biased.
I'll give it to Judd real quick.
Oh no, yeah, I was like, wait a minute, this didn't happen in the book. What's going on? Yeah.
So
right over my head, like everything else, I was like, "Ooh, all right, cool." He dies really early.
For me, to kind of to Frank's point, I think it's another really smart and great shortcut, because, and this isn't giving anything away because they've already now shown it in the show, but Nynaeve and Lan, they have a bond, is all I'll say. And her power, it reminded me, I mean, I keep jumping around, but of like Mutants, where when they're teenagers and
unlocked.
Like they're, I mean, like, I guess in the old comics, it was when they would go through puberty and
traumatic.
It would unlock, like, so she kind of erupted into her power in a way. But for her in the books, it's when she's in moments of big emotional crisis or rage,
anger,
her power, anger, just really explodes out. And so it was another shortcut way to give this character one of her defining features. And so now they've kind of really done that with 2 characters, I think. So
it was good. It was a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot of emotion there. I was with her in that rage moment because I'm like, they cannot do this.
I love that.
That's
great. That is so great. I mean, part of me wants
to. They didn't.
I'm not going to do it. Part of me wants to read the books just so I can share what you.
Just so you know, because I was looking at it, I'm like, where are they in the book? Like, they have done this much of this book, so that's for about. I mean, they're going around a lot, but just reading a little bit, they're over halfway.
So. Can you hold the book up, like, cover? I want to see. My mind is trying to remember. Yeah, it's huge. Okay, and I think I was remembering, like, as a kid, seeing that massive of a book with a horse and a moon on it. I remember, like, I think that might have been what kind of turned me to it. I was just like,
814 pages.
This is the biggest book I've ever seen. So
there's a lot of repetition in there. I've got to say, I've started rereading them. There's a lot of repetition. Like, there's just a lot of Matt saying, "Man, Perrin and Rand would know how to talk to girls. Like, they know how to talk to women." And then then parents saying, "Oh man, Rand and Matt would know how to deal with this. They know how to talk to girls." And then Rand saying, "Oh, parent," like it just there was so much repetition. Like it was, it's almost like a song inside some points where you get this kind of
yeah.
You know,
totally gonna reread it now. Thanks.
Yeah.
No,
I started rereading it. I picked up right where I was pissed off last time.
I started before the last episode podcast. I started reading the first chapter. So,
all right.
How did it feel?
Yeah.
Good question.
It was good. You know, I've done it before, so it's. I feel like I'll get to it this time at least. I'm not. So like the first time I read it, you know, it was the first time. The second time I had to get through the first couple to get to the last couple that I hadn't read. So at least now, like, I feel like I know pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of surprises, but
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't remember everything. I also listened to a podcast. There's a podcast, two guys go through each book chapter by chapter. And I got through like 3 of the books. It is a lot. It's an hour. Yeah. That's crazy. But it's good. It's great.
You know the name of it? You off the top of your head?
Wheel of Time?
That's also funny because like I looked up podcasts also just because I was really trying to take the temperature of what people thought of the show. And I was stunned by how many podcasts there are. And then I started looking at them and like I was just like, I can't, I'm good. Like I just couldn't bring. I was just like
paralysis of choice. It's like
I'm like I'm overwhelmed. Then I was just like, what's the best one? And it just gave me 30 of them. I was like, nah, I'm good.
It's the Wheel of Time spoilers podcast, and I don't know how many books they got through. It's just a lot. I felt like it was good. It was great, but I feel like it was.
There are too many good podcasts out there for me to listen. For me to listen to. True crime
podcasts.
I don't know if I could focus. I could dedicate that much of my ear to it. But hey, you got a free plug on this. It
was good. Just
Larlar, how about a true crime podcast based in Camlin?
Let's do it.
Right. That's it.
Do it.
Yep.
I got it.
Oh, is it Camlin? I'm sorry.
No. I wasn't making fun of your. I wasn't making fun of your pronunciation. I was making fun of your choice. Like it's just such a random choice. Like I'm not sure if the books go there very often. It just like was a
just this the book basically. Oh no, later, but
yeah. It almost
it's the first big
like
city.
A beautiful place.
Oh right.
Right.
Yeah.
Where crimes can happen. I'm just kidding.
Females in charge.
This podcast writes itself. We should do a. Why do you call it a true crime podcast? It's definitely not true. So just
that you know of.
True.
That you know of. It could be true. You just don't know it.
At some point through the wheel of time, it could have happened.
Yeah.
My hope, and I think it's a long shot, but I would love for the 3 of you, that's where you are, for the 3 of you, for your sake, maybe not for all the diehards out there, but I would love it if this series does adopt this is another spin on the wheel. And things aren't exactly the way you think it is. I would love that because every time I talk to the 3 of you and there's a thing that's a little different and it's spiritually close to what you think should happen, but they surprised you, you're so much more excited. You're so much happier about it. And I would love that for you. For me, it's all new. So I don't care. I've just enjoyed it.
I read somewhere that the green Aes Sedai, who is in this episode, from the Battle isn't introduced until the second book. So I'm glad they're jumping around. I hope they're fast forwarding. I hope we end this season at the end of the second or third book and just really just start plowing through and get into it.
I don't know. Because I read there's so much that happens at the end of this book. The end of this book has so much.
Right.
And I didn't even realize it until I read like what happens in the first book. There's so much. And there's so much that I need to see because it will be visually stunning.
That's what I was just thinking. There's one thing
and I
in
need
particular.
I need all of that. Yes.
That I've got in here that
Nice.
I need to see.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I need this season to be just this book because they need to flesh out the rest of this. Because there's a lot. There's a lot that happens. It's weird how the first like 500 pages can be put into 2 episodes, but the rest needs to be.
Yeah,
I need to see it.
They need so they're doing a good job trimming the fat, it seems, and hopefully that'll allow them to make your demands reality.
We'll see.
Well, let's hope for it. And yeah, I think Amazon picked a smart series to go with in the attempt to capture. I just found out that the original prequel that HBO had greenlit for Game of Thrones cost $30 million to make the pilot of, and they scrapped it. They said it wasn't any good. They're not going to do it. They're not going to move forward on the original one.
I didn't know
$30
that. Wow.
million. And Naomi Watts in it. It was like this big. It was 7,000 years before the Game of Thrones happened, and it's got scrapped because the story just didn't translate well on screen. And they're moving forward with a different prequel series. I think it was all about the Dragon House, but I think it's House of Dragons is the name of it. But like, can you imagine the amount of money and effort and unfortunately the creative work that put into somebody had to come up with a good story that just they couldn't push through production. So I think Amazon picked a good one with this.
You get hired to be on that show, and you're like, "This is great. This is my life for the next 10 years." And what you to that end, I read that Amazon, I think, paid $250 million for the rights to the Lord of the Rings stuff, and something like $250 million budget for the episode, like for the stuff they're making. So like they're $500 million, and it was the director of this show who they were like, "What is your budget anyway?" And he said, he laughed. It's like, no, we get what? How much do they get? No.
Yeah, this is their Hail Mary kind of, but also their safe bet.
But that makes me feel better because it's not as much. So maybe, if it's okay.
If they can keep costs down,
they'll keep going.
And it'll be enough as long as
I'm okay with
enough
that.
People like it.
It's competing with all the other things. Like I've heard that the streaming numbers are right up there with Hawkeye and the other big nerd things that are out right now. So I think they're doing, which is nice because then maybe like the second season, you'll see them, get a little bit more money. It's weird seeing truckloads of money poured onto nerd properties. It's just really odd. I remember watching a Disney Plus making of, and they were talking about filming the Scarlet Witch and Vision thing, and they were like, we wanted it to have an authentic old TV feel, so we had a live audience, and we had a carpenter and a woodworker create chairs that would have been in the old live shows.
Wow.
And I was like, you had so much money, you did not know what to do with it. Like you just didn't know. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that it's wild watching money get poured into this stuff. And just how much there is.
This is smart. If they do a lower budget for this book,
right,
this season, because they don't need it now. Later, they will need it.
Save your money.
Very much need it. Yeah.
So like, if you can hook people with this budget, and then it in theory, like the buzz will keep building. Season 2's coming out. Got to catch up on season 1.
And when you really think about it, I mean, major battles and what have you aside, what really drives these shows are personal moments, character moments, and a compelling story. And you can get that with with a reasonable budget. You don't need to spend millions upon millions for giant set pieces. At least not yet. Save that to season 3.
Yeah.
Season 3, you get the giant set pieces in the battle that costs as much as 4 blockbuster movies. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and I cannot wait until the next episode drops this Friday. It's very hard not to read anything about this because spoilers abound potentially. But it's fun talking about it afterwards with the 3 of you. Yay!
I'll look for Easter eggs. I didn't find any.
Oh,
really.
Yeah, none this time.
Sorry.
Do we have any things we want to plug before we sign off? I didn't discuss this beforehand because I accidentally almost started the show at 8:00, a full hour before anybody had agreed to come on. Anything we want to plug? Any bumper car episodes coming out? Or
the Bumper Podcast is your weekly. Speaking of visual storytelling, it's
oh my god,
it's a woof.
Wow.
And I just wanted to end on to do another weird thing. When you're talking about this potentially being another spin of the wheel, so a different, I can't wait until the episode where Owen Wilson's character comes in and, sorry, that's a Loki reference.
Whoa.
I've been excited for that one for a while.
You had that like written out beforehand? Oh no.
No, it was in my brain.
Okay. So there isn't like some notebook somewhere that has drop that Loki gem on me. Okay. No. We gotta get you more shows, Natty. We gotta just get more practice. It's just it'll come around. We're so broadcasting. Bumper Podcast coming next episode soon. When are we going to get another episode of Daydreaming About Dragons?
Soon. There should be a reply show this week and possibly a regular episode this week. So we'll get a couple.
Excellent. And Lauren, your new mic sounds real good.
Thank you. I'm super happy with it. It's for my podcast that might happen in a year or two.
Yes, I knew I would get some information. All right. Yes, this is going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll be back after episode 5 talking about how much we were disappointed. Like, I can't believe it was all Bobby Ewing in the shower. Anyone? No, that's not a good reference anymore. All right. Well, I'm going to find a good video to end this on. What do we got here? I have something in the queue. We planned this thing out perfectly. Let's end with this.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.